Hi there. Welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. I'm Adam Small, and with me, as always, is Doug Carr.
Hello, sir.
How you doing today, Doug?
Well rested.
Well rested. You should be. You had a really long trip there.
Great trip.
Last week, I guess, is when you got back.
Yep.
So you went out again to Dell World, which was in Vegas again.
Officially Dell Tech World.
Oh,
now.
Dell Tech World
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay. So where you get to learn about all sorts of amazing things that Dell is promoting and working on and their technologies and stuff.
It's kind of a cool event because it's not open to the general public.
You have to be invited.
Yeah, it's an appreciation conference for like their biggest clients.
Oh, okay.
So it's like 15,000 people. I think it was like 13,000 people showed up.
So Dell is so big that they can throw a party for their 13,000 biggest clients.
Yeah, and invite people like Sting to sing to us. And
Nice. So that's pretty impressive in and of itself. So Dell Tech World, so they're talking about the stuff that they're working on, they're doing, they're showing appreciation for their clients, right?
Yeah.
So what was probably the most interesting thing outside of getting to see Sting?
Yeah.
Interesting tech thing, I should say, that you saw going on at Dell.
Well, the first thing for people listening, most people tend to think of Dell as just, hey, that's where I buy a laptop.
Right, it's a computer company. I buy computers, maybe a server, and you go
right.
on.
But it's not. It's actually Dell EMC is most of the storage for the internet. So their clients are Google and Microsoft and and Amazon and everybody else. RSA, which is a security firm, Dell servers, Dell laptops. They do $6 billion worth of research and development every year.
That's a big budget for R&D.
Yeah, huge. And it's because it's not a public company anymore. So he's able to take a lot.
He bought it all back, right?
Yeah,
Michael Dell, didn't he? Yeah.
And so it's pretty eye-opening from like I don't tend to get into tech that deeply.
Right.
So it's been really eye-opening for me and changing my perspective as far as, are the robots coming to replace us and, that type of thing. Because the media tends to stir stuff up. If an autonomous car crashes, it's, this horrifying story, even though 22,000 people die every day in car accidents.
But we had one die in the last year, So
And so I think it's a cool look at technology that's really inspiring. So I'll give like some of the interesting ones. There's a company TGen out there that, and by the way, I should say, thanks to Dell for inviting me. I was paid to be there.
Right. Got to get that disclosure out there first to begin with.
Co-host of Dell Luminaries. So if you're podcasting, you can look for Dell Luminaries, and that's where you'll find these stories and interviews. But like one of the companies, TGen, has the two of the top like 25 fastest supercomputers in the world. It's a non-profit company that has mapped the human genome, which is 4 terabytes per person, by the way.
Shoo, that's a lot of data.
That's a lot of data. And basically what they're doing is identifying obscure diseases and how to utilize that data in DNA to produce medicine and treatment for those people. And so where like a Lilly or Roche or something, they can't afford to go after small, they have to go after big diseases like diabetes and stuff so that they can
they can make a profit.
Where they can at least make their money back.
Right.
But TGen is a nonprofit and have been doing it forever. And so these guys are, they are processing so much data and everything else. And so some of the treatments are working and they've cured some of, strange brain diseases and everything else.
So are they doing that on an individual basis? Are they customizing, like getting the genome for the person in particular?
Yeah, they have
customizing the treatment.
They have like
100,000
people's genomes mapped from front to back. And by the way, these numbers, I'm not making them up, but I believe that's what I was told. And so what they're able to do is, basically take a unique sick crowd of people that might have 50 people that have this obscure disease and then map that and then compare it to the rest of the population, identify what the differences are, and then come up with solutions. And then all the data that they have, they share.
That's amazing.
They literally have people downloading it all over the world and utilizing this data.
The benefits that they're creating.
So that's where, when you hear about the big evil machines, like these guys are doing, I mean, they're saving people's lives every single day. So,
right. Amazing.
So that's one. Another company that I was really intrigued with, there's a company called Daqri, Daqri, like pronounced like the drink daiquiri.
Right.
But these guys basically created glasses, so augmented reality glasses. And the augmented reality glasses, you can even have prescription lenses on. And so the cool part of this is they're basically built a system where you can tag, communicate with someone across the country or whatever, and you can tag things in 3 dimensions. So here's how so let's say your house has a heating and air conditioning unit, and it had a broken valve 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Well, using these glasses, your technician, after he fixes it, could tag it and say, hey, this is Doug. I came in and I fixed this 3 years ago. Here's the earth, not 3
years ago. On this date.
Fix this on this date. Here's what was wrong, everything else. And 3 years later, someone could come with those glasses and see that tag.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. And the reason why that's, if you're thinking, well, that's okay, we'll start to think about things like being able to repair equipment that you don't know how.
Right.
So if you're in the rural America and your car breaks down,
right.
If you have these glasses, you could literally get on the, connect with an engineer across the world, and he could walk you through, or you could just learn, with these glasses how to fix the equipment that you have.
Right. And and the other application that I see for that off the top of my head is, one of the things that happens with any sort of machine or computer or whatever that's built is that, there are in fact problems with automobiles, say, right? So they have recalls on those for a reason. And what happens is something starts breaking, and a few people take it in and they get it fixed at the dealers, and then the dealers are able to start identifying that recall that may need a recall, right?
Yeah.
So now when you're talking about with glasses and stuff like that, if you're better able to track across the board, because some people, they don't get things fixed like they should, or they take them to not the dealer but to a regular mechanic and he doesn't report it.
Right.
But when you start having the ability to record that stuff across the board in any environment on pretty much anything, then you're also able to see much better detail as what's going on with something from a historical perspective.
You're nailing it. One of the things that they're doing is like working with the U.S. Army on preventive maintenance.
Right.
So if anybody's, both Adam and I have been in the military, you have preventive maintenance on machines. So you might have this 4-page booklet with 400 steps on how to clean and grease up a piece of machinery, and you can't miss a single step.
Right.
Well, with something like this, not only could you walk someone through every step, you can validate that they're doing every step. And so if a piece of machinery fails, I could either go back to the recording and see what happened or whatever. And so, man, just fascinating technology. And part of it is you got to think about 3D space is a hard thing to tag.
Right.
Because if Adam is a foot taller than me, the tag has to be,
perspective is different.
Yeah. And so these guys actually have, like, when they're doing things, they have like a barcode that they look at as they enter a room or whatever. And that sets, and then everything is measured from that barcode.
Perspective. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's wild. Wild stuff. Another company out there, I'm going to get the Draper. Draper created the first system. We were joking about it on Luminaries, but we were joking about how George Clooney always floats off into space. The tether breaks. Like in every space movie, the tether breaks, and the person floats off into space. Well, Draper created a system that always brings the astronaut back to like these guys have it right now.
Unbreakable tether.
It's not a tether. It's that like it's a return jetpack kind of thing.
Okay.
And so it doesn't matter their orientation. It doesn't matter whether they're passed out. It doesn't matter whether they're spinning out of control. Mm-hmm. This system will bring them back to the. Now, here's the thing: is what people don't realize on Earth, we have gravity, we have gravitational waves,
right?
We have GPS. Well, in space, you don't have any of that.
Right.
So I'm sure this is top secret stuff that they're working on, but they're able to do that in space, no gravity, no GPS, no nothing, able to basically take an astronaut that might be spinning out of control somewhere and get them back. Like, that's some cool stuff.
Have they tested it yet?
Yeah. Let's hope that they don't have to. But and then another one that was just fascinating was we got to talk to the CEO of McLaren. Mm-hmm. And so McLaren, for anybody out there, one is their Formula F1 cars. Right. They're also supercars. I think they're $1 million a piece if you want to order one.
It's chump change, right?
Yeah. and then they have a couple other companies where they do commercial work and everything because of the stuff. And so people don't realize they have a couple hundred PhDs that work at McLaren.
Yeah.
and it's the cars have something like 21 sensors in them, so not a terrible amount of sensors.
Right. That doesn't seem very high.
But these sensors literally send terabytes of data back through to their data center when they're racing, not just at the race. It sends it all the way back to their supercomputers and everything else. Mm-hmm. And these guys capture that data and they know exactly what to adjust on the car and how to adjust it. And so that was pretty fascinating just to learn. Like, imagine that streaming data, and you got to make real life changes mechanical to a car to improve it.
Right. Right.
But
well, they're a long way from the days when it was just put it out there and let it run.
Exactly.
And I seem to recall that these guys would have a notepad and they'd write down the number of laps, and they were figuring out how much the miles per gallon they were getting based on their fuel consumption. They'd guess when to pull them in, and at times they would run out of gas and stuff like that, which I know is called a gas gauge, right, guys?
Yeah.
They typically don't have that. They do calculations. I'm sure with these sensors, they're much, much more accurate.
And here's where it'll flip on you is their modeling and simulation systems are so accurate that they adjust the mechanical car based on the simulation.
Really?
So if it changes by 3 degrees out the day of the race, they plug that into the simulation, and the simulation tells them how to adjust the car. Yeah. And it's so accurate that it works. And
it's incredible.
So we spent all these years trying to make a simulation as good as real life. Now we actually have simulations that
are good as real life,
are better.
Yeah.
And so I was blown away, by that one. It was just absolutely incredible. And so, these are just a few things. And then the good thing that Dell released there, the good story was they're dedicated to getting rid of the ocean plastics.
Right.
And so now all of their packaging and all of their computers now have a certain percentage of plastic in it that was pulled back from the ocean, which is pretty cool too. So
good.
So feel good story on that too.
A little environmental awareness there.
Yeah. But just, stuff like that, it really changes your perspective of how technology is being applied and used, and people are doing some wicked smart things out there.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Sounds like a great conference to go to. And you interviewed 11 people for your podcast.
Yeah. Our last interview was we interviewed the CIO of NATO.
Well, I imagine he couldn't say a whole lot.
They have 26 data centers around the world working with, I think it's 28 countries and 42 partner countries. So imagine all the communication issues and everything else to get the word out. and I never knew that. I never even thought about them having a server. Maybe a Gmail account or something,
Yeah, a Gmail account.
And so you get in here, you're like, holy smokes, man. You don't even, it's just unimaginable how much, people are relying on technology nowadays and how it's changing everybody's lives.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it sounds like an event that I should probably get myself invited to next year. So,
yeah.
So.
I'll get an assistant.
There you go. Wait a minute here.
Yeah, we already talked about how terrible an employee you are.
Well, that's why I own a business now.
You and me both, buddy.
Well, hey, Doug, thanks. Appreciate you filling us in on Dell World. It was very interesting to hear.
Dell Tech World.
Dell Tech World. Forgive me, please. Very interesting to hear. If you guys want to learn more, I would say you could contact us at info@agentsauce.com, but really in this case, you probably need to contact Doug, and that's
Doug at dknewmedia.com, and you can just look up Dell Tech World. I think they actually have all the speakers and all the speeches online, so you can actually go see, some of these things that they're doing. It's incredible.
Great.
And they picked like a selection across multiple industries to show variance there. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. Have a great day, and if you like what you hear, don't forget to like and subscribe.